The Zen of letting go, embracing impermanence. Have you ever held onto something so tightly, only to watch it slip right through your fingers? A relationship you thought would last forever. A job that once felt like home. Even a version of yourself, strong, certain, full of direction, that eventually began to feel like a stranger in the mirror. We've all been there. And yet, we keep grasping for permanence in a world that is constantly changing. But what if peace isn't found in holding on? What if it's found in letting go? The Zen teachings have long whispered this truth. Everything is impermanent. Nothing stays the same. Not the people we love. Not the pain we carry. Not even the breath we are taking right now. But rather than viewing impermanence as a loss, Zen invites us to see it as a quiet liberation. When we understand that everything is fleeting, we begin to loosen the grip. Not out of hopelessness, but out of wisdom. Think about the seasons. Spring doesn't beg summer to stay. Autumn doesn't fight the falling of leaves. Winter doesn't fear the warmth that melts its snow. Nature surrenders, and in that surrender, there's grace. So why do we resist what nature embraces so freely? Maybe it's because we were taught that control equals safety, that certainty equals success, that letting go means giving up. But Zen flips that script. It asks, what if letting go is not the end, but the beginning? The beginning of peace, of presence, of deep, unshakable trust in the unfolding of life. I remember a time in my own life when everything I had planned fell apart. I had it all mapped out, the goals, the milestones, the image of who I thought I was supposed to become. And then, life said no. Or maybe, life said, not yet. At first, I clung harder. I tried to force the outcome. But the more I fought, the more I suffered. Only when I finally allowed myself to let go, to feel the grief, to release the expectation, did something quietly shift inside me. There was still pain. But there was also space. Space to breathe. To notice. To just be. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop controlling. It means trusting that you can still love, still show up, still hope, without demanding that life looks a certain way. It's the art of holding life gently, like you would a butterfly on your palm. Open. Soft. Free. So how do we practice this? Let's make it real. Let's make it human. First, notice your attachments. Where are you resisting change? Is it in a relationship that no longer nurtures you? In an identity you've outgrown? In a dream that maybe, just maybe, needs to evolve? Second, allow space for grief. Letting go isn't always clean or quick. Sometimes it comes with tears, with confusion, with longing. That's okay. It means you're human. Third, return to presence. Impermanence is only scary when we are living in the past or projecting into the future. Right now, this breath, this moment, it's enough. In fact, it's all there ever is. And finally, trust. Trust that what's meant for you won't miss you. That release makes room for renewal. That the unknown is not empty, but full of new beginnings waiting to bloom. Zen doesn't offer easy answers. It offers presence. It offers peace through paradox. To gain, we must release. To live, we must die, over and over, to the versions of ourselves we no longer need. To love fully, we must accept that nothing we love will stay the same forever. And that's not a tragedy. That's the miracle of being alive. So I'll ask you now, what are you holding onto that's ready to be released? What weight have you carried for far too long? And who might you become? How much lighter might you feel if you could finally, gently, just let it go? There's beauty in the falling leaf, in the closing chapter, in the breath that comes and then goes. Let's stop resisting the current of life. Let's stop demanding that joy stays and pain leaves on our schedule. Let's learn to ride the wave, to bow to the impermanent, to trust the ebb and the flow, because maybe the greatest peace we'll ever find is not in holding on, but in learning, with grace, to let go. If this message stirred something in you, remember, you're not alone on this path. Let's walk it together, one mindful breath at a time. The Zen of letting go, embracing impermanence. Imagine a life where your worries about the past and your fears of the future simply melt away, where you're not constantly chasing the next thing or clinging to what you're afraid to lose. What would it feel like to truly live like that? Not just for a few minutes on vacation or during meditation, But in your everyday life? This video isn't just another philosophical idea floating in the clouds. It's a practical, grounded guide to something many of us overlook. A principle so simple, yet so transformative, it could change how you relate to everything: impermanence. You see, at first, the idea that everything changes can feel unsettling. Our culture praises consistency, stability, forever love, forever youth, forever success. We are told to build a legacy, lock things down, and keep what you earn. But let's be honest, how often does life go exactly the way we planned? People leave, jobs end, bodies age, plans fall through, dreams shift. And yet, instead of flowing with these natural changes, we fight them. We cling to what's slipping. We mourn what hasn't even ended yet. We try to pause life in a world that was never designed to stand still. But what if impermanence isn't something to be feared? What if it's the very key to our freedom? Buddhist philosophy, and especially Zen wisdom, doesn't teach impermanence to depress us. It teaches it to wake us up. Because when you deeply understand that everything is temporary, the highs, the lows, the praise, the blame, you start to breathe differently. You start to see life, not as a trap, but as a flowing river. And the more you fight the river, the more exhausted you become. But the moment you surrender, you start to float. Let me ask you something. What's one thing you've been holding onto, long after it was ready to go? Maybe it's a relationship that no longer feels aligned. A version of yourself you've outgrown. An expectation that keeps disappointing you. We all carry these things. And sometimes we convince ourselves that letting go means failure. But letting go isn't giving up. It's growing up. It's realizing that nothing, and no one, is meant to stay the same. Take the cherry blossom, for example, a beloved symbol in Zen culture. Its beauty lies in its short life. It blooms, dazzles, and falls within days. But people travel across the world to witness that brief moment of glory. Why? Because it reminds us of something we forget in our fast-paced world. Things don't need to last forever to be meaningful. They just need to be seen, felt, appreciated while they're here. The more we accept impermanence, the more present we become. Not just with sunsets or spring blossoms, but with the people we love, the food we eat, the silence between words, even with our own emotions as they rise and pass. And here's something interesting. When you stop clinging to permanence, you suffer less. Why? Because most suffering doesn't come from the pain itself. It comes from resisting the change, from wishing things were different, from replaying, regretting, or rehearsing what hasn't even happened yet. But what if you let it all unfold? What if you could say, yes, this moment is here. I'll meet it fully. And then, when it passes, as it always does, you gently release it. That's real strength. That's what inner peace actually feels like. So how can you practice this? Let me give you 3 simple ways. 1. Start your day with 1 deep breath. Not to fix anything. Just to feel, I'm alive. This breath is here now. That's impermanence in action. It's already different from the one before it. 2. At the end of the day, mentally let go. Ask yourself, what am I still carrying that doesn't serve me anymore? And then say, gently, I release you. 3. Watch nature. Seriously. Look outside. The clouds, the wind, the birds, the falling leaves. They are the world's quiet teachers of impermanence, always in motion, yet always whole. Here's what I've learned after years of running from change and trying to control everything. The tighter you hold on, the more it hurts. But the moment you soften, life softens with you. Letting go doesn't mean losing everything. It means making space for what's next. It means trusting that peace isn't something we find when everything is perfect. Peace is what arises when we stop resisting what is. So maybe today's the day. Not to solve everything. Not to fix the past. But just to loosen your grip. To pause. To breathe. To remember, nothing lasts, and that's okay. Because that's where beauty lives. That's where presence lives. And that, my friend, is where you'll find your calm. If this message resonates with you, I invite you to sit with it, not just once, but often. And maybe share it with someone who might need to hear it too. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Be open to change. And remember, every moment is a gift, because none of them last forever. The freedom in impermanence. Hook. What if the very thing you're clinging to is also the source of your suffering? What if the very thing you're clinging to is also the thing that's making you suffer? I know, it sounds backwards. We are taught to hold on, to fight for what matters, to protect what we've built. But in that desperate grasp, have you ever felt heavy? Not just physically tired, but emotionally worn out, like you're carrying too much? Today, I want to talk about something that may seem counterintuitive at first, but once it clicks, it has the power to set you free. It's the idea that letting go of what's temporary is the path to what's truly lasting. That when we stop resisting change, we start uncovering a peace that's been waiting all along. Let's be honest, change is hard. We lose people we love. We grow older. We outgrow jobs, cities, even versions of ourselves. And every time change shows up, we feel the impulse to tighten our grip, to freeze things in place, to try to make the good moments last, and keep the bad ones from arriving. But the truth is, nothing in this life stays fixed. Not joy, not pain, not even your thoughts 5 seconds ago. And yet, we suffer most not because things change, but because we expect them not to. Let me share something personal. A few years ago, I was going through a period of deep anxiety. It felt like life was slipping out from under me. A job I loved was ending. A relationship I thought would last didn't. And for a while, I tried everything to hold the pieces together. But the more I tried to resist the changes, the more I felt like I was drowning. It wasn't until I let go, not in defeat, but in quiet acceptance, that something shifted. No, everything didn't magically fix itself. But I changed. I found stillness, not by holding on, but by allowing. And that's when I began to understand impermanence, not as a threat, but as a teacher. In Buddhism, impermanence is known as anicca. It's one of the 3 fundamental marks of existence. And it simply means, everything arises and passes away. Now, this isn't meant to be depressing, it's meant to liberate us. Because when you stop expecting things to stay, you stop being surprised when they don't. And in that space, something softens. You begin to meet life as it is, not as you wish it would be. Let me ask you something. What's one thing in your life right now that you're afraid to lose? A relationship? A role? A sense of identity you've carried for years? What would it feel like, not to abandon it, but to hold it more gently? To stop gripping it with fear, and instead cradle it with gratitude? That's the practice of impermanence. Not detachment in a cold, distant way, but deep, warm presence, knowing that because nothing lasts, everything becomes more precious. Think of the sunset. It's beautiful precisely because it fades. The laughter of a child. A shared cup of coffee. The sound of rain on a quiet afternoon. These moments are not less valuable because they pass. They're more valuable because they ask us to be there, fully. You see, the gift of impermanence is that it pulls us back to now. Right here. This breath. This heartbeat. But how do we actually live this? Let me offer you 3 gentle reminders that help me in daily life. 1. Nothing is guaranteed, so appreciate more, complain less. When we expect life to stay the same, we take it for granted. But when we know it's all fleeting, we start to pay attention. 2. Your emotions are not permanent either. That wave of sadness, frustration, or doubt, it will pass. You don't have to fix it. Just feel it, and let it go. 3. Let endings be sacred. Whether it's the end of a chapter, a season, or even a conversation, pause to honor it. Say thank you. Say goodbye. Let it close with grace. Here's the paradox. When you stop clinging to what you think will bring you peace, you actually find the peace you've been searching for all along. Letting go isn't giving up. It's coming home. Back to what's real. Back to what lasts, not outside you, but within you. Because when everything else fades, and it will, what remains is your capacity to meet life with openness, with courage, and with love. So the next time you feel afraid of change, or tempted to hold on too tight, just ask yourself, is this thing I'm clinging to bringing me peace, or preventing it? And if the answer isn't peace, maybe it's time to loosen your grip, to exhale, to trust that something new, something beautiful, might be waiting on the other side of surrender. Impermanence doesn't take away meaning. It gives it. So don't be afraid to let go. You're not falling apart. You are simply falling into place. The illusion of permanence. Have you ever noticed how we tend to speak about things as if they'll last forever? We say things like, "This is my dream job," "We'll always be together," or "I finally found what I've been searching for." But beneath these words is a quiet hope that life will stop changing once we've figured it out. That once we reach a certain point, a promotion, a relationship, a home, we can finally relax. We can finally hold on. But the truth is, life doesn't freeze. And deep down, we know this. What we are clinging to is not reality, but an illusion, the illusion of permanence. Why do we cling? It's not weakness. It's not a flaw. It's human. We all long for some sense of certainty, something solid to stand on when the ground beneath us feels like it's shifting. In a world where everything seems to move faster than we can process, news cycles, economies, relationships, even technology, we instinctively reach for something that won't move. Something we can name, define, and count on. A steady job. A long-term partner. A 5-year plan. But have you ever noticed, even when we get what we want, there's still anxiety? That quiet fear of loss. That subtle tension in our chest. The wondering, what if it changes? Or worse, what if it ends? Because it will. Sooner or later, it will. The culture we live in doesn't help. Modern society constantly feeds the belief that more equals better, and that what we own reflects who we are. From ads that tell us we'll feel fulfilled with the next gadget, to career ladders that promise security at the top, it's no wonder we get attached. Even success has been rebranded into something we must maintain, not simply experience. But when everything becomes something we must hold on to, our body image, our social status, our relationships, our youth, life begins to feel like a race we can never win. Have you ever stood in front of the mirror and wished you could pause time? Or looked at someone you love and thought, "I hope this never changes"? That's not just love. That's fear. And that fear is rooted in a mistaken belief that we can somehow preserve what is, without allowing what will be. The cost of clinging is subtle, but deep. We don't always feel it immediately. It creeps in slowly. It shows up as anxiety, the fear of losing what we've built. It shows up as disappointment, when reality doesn't match the script we'd written in our minds. It shows up as resentment, when people change, or leave, or fail to meet our unspoken expectations. And worst of all, it shows up as disconnection from the present moment. Because when we are busy holding on to what was or trying to protect what might be, we miss what is. But here's the liberating truth. Nothing lasts forever. Not the good, not the bad, not even the pain. It might sound like a sad truth, but it's actually the doorway to peace. Because if we can embrace impermanence, not just intellectually, but deeply, as a lived truth, we begin to see that we were never meant to hold on. We were meant to participate, to flow, to witness, to let life move through us, instead of trying to control its direction. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my life when I had everything I thought I needed. A great job, a relationship that seemed stable, and the sense that I was finally on track. But over a single year, everything unraveled. The job ended. The relationship fell apart. And with it, my sense of identity cracked open. At first, I panicked. I clung harder. I tried to fix, to rebuild, to get back what I had lost. But none of it came back. What did come, slowly, and with quiet grace, was a deeper kind of clarity. A sense that maybe life wasn't punishing me. Maybe it was freeing me. Because in the absence of what I thought was permanent, I discovered something far more powerful: presence. The ability to be here, now, without needing guarantees. The freedom to love without needing it to last. To create without needing applause. To live without needing to hold on. So let me ask you something. What are you holding on to? A version of yourself? A relationship you're afraid to let change? A future that hasn't arrived? Or a past that won't return? What might happen if you loosened your grip, just a little? Not to give up, but to give space. What might open up if you allowed things to come and go, like seasons, rather than trying to trap them in place? The illusion of permanence is comforting, but it's not real. What's real is this moment. And in this moment, you have a choice. You can cling, or you can breathe, and let go. Because only by letting go can we truly hold anything at all. The unavoidable truth: impermanence as a universal law. Have you ever tried to stop time? To pause a perfect moment? A hug that felt like home? A sunset that took your breath away? A version of yourself that you weren't ready to outgrow? But no matter how tight we hold on, time keeps moving. Life keeps changing. And whether we like it or not, everything is impermanent. This isn't a theory. It's not a spiritual belief. It's a universal law, woven into every corner of existence. Just look outside. The seasons don't argue about when to change. Summer never protests the arrival of fall. Leaves don't cling to branches. They let go, gracefully, without resistance. Rivers don't hold their shape. They bend, stretch, and surrender to the land. Everything in nature is in motion, not in a rush, but in rhythm. And maybe nature has been trying to teach us something all along. That stillness doesn't mean resisting change. It means moving with it, like wind through tall grass. But this isn't just a poetic idea. Even science agrees. Impermanence is baked into the very structure of reality. In quantum physics, particles blink in and out of existence. Energy fluctuates. Position and velocity are never certain. Nothing stays fixed. Zoom out to the cosmic scale, and you'll see galaxies expanding, stars exploding, planets dying and being born. Even the atoms in your body, yes, your body, are borrowed from ancient stars. You are literally made of stardust. And one day, the atoms that form your hand, your heart, your breath, will become part of something else. Change isn't just happening to us. We are change. And yet, we resist it. We try to stop time with photos. We try to hold youth in creams and surgeries. We fight endings of jobs, relationships, identities, as if permanence were a promise. But it never was. And maybe that's not tragic. Maybe it's freeing. Because here's the thing. When you stop demanding permanence, you stop suffering. We suffer not because things change, but because we expect them not to. The anxiety you feel about aging, it isn't aging itself. It's your resistance to it. The heartbreak you feel when something ends, it's not the ending. It's the idea that it shouldn't have ended. So what if we could shift that? What if, instead of asking, why did this have to change? We asked, how can I be fully present while it's here? Think of the cherry blossom. It blooms for just a few days each spring. And in Japan, people celebrate its short life, not mourn it. They sit beneath the trees, knowing the petals will fall. And that knowledge makes the beauty more intense, not less. Impermanence doesn't diminish meaning. It creates it. If life were endless and unchanging, would we treasure it the same way? Let me share something from my own life. There was a moment I thought would last forever. A chapter where I felt certain about who I was, what I wanted, where I was headed. But life, as it does, had other plans. I lost that job. The relationship ended. Even my sense of self unraveled. And for a while, I fought it. I tried to recreate what had already passed. But nothing fit. Everything felt gone. Until one morning, walking through a park, I saw a single golden leaf fall from a tree. It wasn't dramatic. It just floated down and rested gently on the earth. And I thought, maybe I don't have to fight this. Maybe life isn't about preserving the old, but about being present for what's unfolding. That day, I didn't get my answers, but I got something better, peace. Not because life stopped changing, but because I stopped arguing with it. And I wonder, what would it look like if you did the same? What could you release today? Not in bitterness, but in trust? Maybe you're in the middle of a transition right now. A goodbye you didn't choose. A future you didn't expect. It's okay to grieve. Change hurts sometimes. But beneath that pain is a deeper truth. You're not breaking. You're unfolding. Like the moon in its phases. Like the tide as it shifts. Like every breath you take. Rising, falling, rising again. You are not meant to stay the same. And that's not a flaw. It's a miracle. So if impermanence is unavoidable, what do? We live more fully. We say, I love you more often. We savor the ordinary. We don't wait for perfect moments. We make them meaningful. Because we know they won't last. And that's exactly what makes them sacred. Impermanence isn't a curse. It's an invitation. To stop clinging. To start living. To meet each moment as it comes, with open eyes, open hands, and an open heart. So the next time life asks you to let go, don't see it as an ending. See it as a gentle reminder that nothing stays. And that's why everything matters. Everything changes. Everything passes. Let it. Practical steps to loosen your grip. Let's be honest, letting go is easier said than done. We cling to our routines, our identities, our plans for next week. We hold on to the idea that things should go a certain way, that life, if we just manage it right, will finally offer the peace we are seeking. But life, in its quiet wisdom, keeps reminding us, nothing lasts. Everything is in motion. So, how do we learn to loosen our grip without feeling like we are losing control? Let's begin with something very simple, mindful observation. Not some grand meditative retreat. Just noticing. Right now, as you're listening, can you take a moment to observe your breath, without changing it? Just feel it come in, and go out. Now notice the thoughts passing through your mind, like clouds drifting across the sky. Maybe some are soft and pleasant. Others might be stormy, heavy with old regrets or future worries. The key is, don't chase them. Don't argue with them. Just notice. Watch how even the loudest thoughts fade. Even the most uncomfortable sensations, tension in the chest, a flutter in the stomach, they rise, and they fall. When we practice this kind of awareness, we begin to see the truth that Buddhist teachers have pointed to for centuries. Everything is impermanent. Nothing we feel, no thought, no emotion, no physical state, stays the same for long. And in that realization, something loosens. We stop needing to control so much. We begin to trust the flow. But I know, sometimes the mind won't let go easily. It wants certainty. It wants guarantees. So here's something I call the what-if game. Whenever fear shows up, whispering, what if I fail? Or what if I lose this person? Try leaning into it. Ask yourself, okay, what if that did happen? What then? Let's say you're afraid of losing your job. What if you did? Would it be hard? Of course. Would it be uncomfortable? Likely, yes. But would it destroy you? Probably not. You might struggle. You might grieve. And then, eventually, you'd adapt. You'd get creative. You'd reach out. Maybe even discover a part of yourself you didn't know existed. This isn't toxic positivity. This is courage. It's training the mind to stop running from every shadow and instead sit with the unknown. Because the truth is, uncertainty isn't the enemy. Clinging to false certainty is. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to start big. You can begin right where you are, with small things. Try practicing non-attachment in daily life. Let go of your favorite seat at the coffee shop. Skip the usual TV show and sit with a book instead. Say yes to something you'd normally avoid. Say no when you feel pressured to please. These aren't dramatic acts, but they're powerful. Every time you step outside your comfort bubble, just a little, you're reminding your nervous system, hey, we can be okay even when things don't go our way. Think of it like strength training for the soul. You're building resilience, not by avoiding discomfort, but by softening into it. Here's something I've done that might sound silly, but it's helped me a lot. Once a week, I pick one small preference I have, something really minor, and I give it up on purpose. Sometimes it's not putting sugar in my tea. Sometimes it's letting someone else choose the music in the car. Sometimes it's not reacting when plans get changed last minute. Why do this? Because when I practice letting go of the little things, I'm more graceful when life asks me to release the big ones. And life always will. None of this means we stop caring. Non-attachment isn't indifference. It's not saying, nothing matters. It's saying, I will love, I will commit, I will give my best, and I will let life unfold without gripping it so tightly. So here's a question I'll leave you with. What's one small thing you could let go of today? Not forever, just for now. A belief? An expectation? A little habit? Just try it. See what softens. See what opens when your hands, your heart, unclench, just a little. You might discover that peace isn't hiding in control. It's waiting for you in the surrender. Embracing the flow, from resistance to resilience. Have you ever tried to hold back the tide? Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean, arms outstretched, as the waves roll toward you. No matter how strong or determined you are, the sea doesn't stop. It moves with its own rhythm, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce, but always flowing. Life is like that ocean. And yet, so often, we try to resist its waves. We cling to certainty, to how things should be, to plans that no longer serve us. We tell ourselves, this isn't supposed to happen, or I'm not ready for this. But the truth is, resistance rarely protects us. It only tightens the knot of suffering. So what if, instead of resisting change, we embraced it? Let's begin with the first step, the power of adaptability. When we hear the word surrender, it can sound like giving up. But in the spiritual and emotional sense, surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's recognizing what's beyond our control and choosing to dance with the moment instead of fighting it. Think about a time when life didn't go as planned. Maybe you lost a job, went through a breakup, or faced a sudden shift in your health or finances. Initially, it likely felt like the ground disappeared beneath you. But then, something shifted. You adjusted. You adapted. And maybe, just maybe, a part of you became more creative, more flexible, more alive. Adaptability isn't just surviving. It's the art of flowing with life. It's how rivers carve through mountains, not by force, but by persistence and grace. Here's a question for you. What are you resisting right now? A new role? A slower pace? A version of life you didn't expect? Whatever it is, what would happen if you stopped fighting it and started listening to it instead? That leads us to the second step, finding peace in uncertainty. There's a story I once heard about a Zen monk who was asked how he remained calm during chaos. His answer was simple: I let the storm rage around me, but I keep my center still. That image stayed with me. Because the world doesn't promise stillness. It promises movement. But we can create stillness within ourselves. We often think peace will arrive after everything settles down. But peace isn't the reward. It's the practice. It's choosing not to panic when plans fall apart. It's breathing deeply when the unknown knocks at your door. Try this. The next time you feel anxious or overwhelmed, close your eyes and notice your breath. Imagine yourself as a ship in the middle of a storm, not panicking, not trying to escape, just steadying your anchor. The storm may rage, but you remain grounded. It's not easy, but peace is built moment by moment, in the heart of uncertainty. Finally, we arrive at the most beautiful part of all, the beauty of constant renewal. We often fear change because we associate it with loss. And yes, change does bring endings. But endings are only one side of the coin. On the other side, beginnings, growth, evolution. Nature shows us this again and again. Trees shed their leaves not because they're dying, but because they're making space for something new. Caterpillars dissolve inside a cocoon before becoming butterflies. The night sky isn't empty, it's preparing for dawn. And we, too, are part of that great rhythm. Change isn't a failure. It's a form of renewal. Every time we let go of what was, we create room for what could be. So let me ask you this. What part of you is ready to be renewed? Maybe it's your perspective. Maybe it's an old fear that no longer fits. Maybe it's a dream you've been afraid to pursue. Letting go is never easy. But if we can loosen our grip, just a little, we might discover that what's waiting for us is far more beautiful than what we were holding on to. So here's what I invite you to carry forward. Flow with life. Not because it's always gentle, but because it's always real. Stay centered in uncertainty. Not because you'll always feel in control, but because you can always return to your breath. Celebrate change. Not because it's painless, but because it brings you closer to who you're becoming. The ocean doesn't need our permission to move, and neither does life. But we can choose how we meet the waves. With resistance, or with resilience. And when we choose resilience, something shifts, not just around us, but within us. We begin to trust. We begin to soften. And in that softening, we become strong, not because we are unbreakable, but because we are flexible. And sometimes, that's exactly what the heart needs. A life unburdened, the serenity of letting go. Have you ever felt like you're carrying too much? Not in your hands, but in your heart? The weight of expectations, past regrets, future fears, unfinished dreams, or relationships that no longer feel true. We all carry invisible burdens. And we've been taught, in so many ways, to hold on, to fight, to cling, to strive for control. But what if peace, real, lasting peace, doesn't come from holding on tighter, but from finally letting go. Let's take a breath together. Just one deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. That space you feel? That pause? That's where serenity begins. Letting go isn't giving up. It's not weakness or passivity. It's an act of courage, a deep trust in life itself. It's choosing to release the illusion that we can micromanage every outcome, fix every person, or secure every piece of our future. Because the truth is, we can't. But what we can do is unclench our fists. There's a quiet kind of abundance that begins to bloom when we stop measuring life by what we can achieve or possess. When we no longer define our worth by status, money, titles, or how productive we were today. That kind of abundance, inner peace, contentment, spaciousness, doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. And oddly enough, it often arrives after we've surrendered. After we've accepted that we don't have all the answers, that we can't force everything to make sense. After we've said, "Okay, life, I'll stop fighting you." You might think, but won't I lose everything if I let go? No. You might just gain yourself. Think about your relationships for a moment. How often do we enter them with a mental script of how things should go? They should call more. They should understand us. They should be more like the version of them we imagine. But love, real love, isn't found in control, it's found in freedom. When we let go of expectations, we begin to meet others as they are, not as we wish them to be. We listen more. We judge less. And that creates the space where love can actually breathe. I've learned this the hard way. Holding tight to expectations used to make me feel safe, like I had a map. But what I really had was a cage, one I built myself. And over time, I realized that some of the most profound connections in my life only deepened when I stopped trying to shape them. Letting go made room for authenticity. And authenticity is love's favorite home. There's also the fear of change, of impermanence. We resist it, fight it, pretend things will stay the same. But deep down, we know everything changes. Seasons change, bodies age, friendships evolve, dreams shift. The teachings of impermanence are not meant to depress us, they're meant to free us. When we embrace change, we stop living in fear of loss. We stop gripping so tightly to people, plans, and control. Instead, we become like water, flexible, flowing, responsive. We adapt. We stop asking, "How can I avoid change?" and start asking, "How can I move with it?" And that is the essence of serenity. Letting go doesn't mean detaching from life. It means engaging more deeply, with less fear. It means holding things gently instead of desperately. It means accepting that we can care deeply and still not control the outcome. So here's a gentle invitation. What are you still carrying that's ready to be released? Is it a story about yourself that no longer serves you? A resentment you've rehearsed so many times it's become a part of your identity? A need for approval that keeps you editing who you are? Imagine setting that down. Just for today. Just for this breath. You don't need to become someone new to find peace. You only need to stop clinging to what's already falling away. Letting go is not a one-time event. It's a practice. A daily choosing. To loosen, to trust, to soften. And in that practice, we begin to experience what many spiritual traditions call freedom. Freedom from what? From the illusion that we must earn peace. From the belief that love is conditional. From the pressure to always have a plan. And in that freedom, we discover a new kind of strength, the strength to live with an open heart. There's a Zen saying I love, let go or be dragged. And sometimes, that's exactly what life does. It drags us until we finally learn to release. Until we realize the cost of holding on is greater than the risk of letting go. So if you're standing at a crossroads, or feeling lost in the fog of uncertainty, remember this. You don't have to figure it all out right now. You just have to let go of one small thing. One thought. One fear. One expectation. And in that space, serenity will begin to rise. Not from doing more, but from holding less. A life unburdened isn't a perfect life. It's a life that flows. A life where peace is no longer a distant reward, but a daily presence. And maybe, just maybe, letting go is not the end of something, but the beginning of everything. So today, ask yourself, what would it feel like to stop grasping and simply trust? Because peace isn't something we chase. It's something we allow.